So I'm not usually a fan of Air Jordan mids, but this Jordan mid changes colors. What's up everybody, I'm Seth Fowler, and today I'm reviewing the Air Jordan 1 mid color shift. As you guys can see, I'm not in my usual studio today. I'm actually in Las Vegas, Nevada for Agenda, which is kind of like a vendor show, and we're trying to get our socks into the hands of, I guess, other people. Osman's in the corner. If I look over to the side, that's what I'm looking at. So yeah, Apothecary is going global, so make sure to give us a follow on Instagram at Apothecary, which I've left a link to in the description below. Also, while you're down there, make sure to hit that subscribe button and also give me a follow at Real Seth Fowler. So rather than vlogging this trip or doing anything interesting, I decided to buy sneakers. So I could be out on this trip right now. I could be going to, I don't know, I could be doing a lot of things here, but I'm not. Instead, I'm buying sneakers and I'm reviewing them for you guys. So make sure to leave a comment in the comment section down below, letting me know whether you thought this was a good call or not. So as you guys can see, I decided to pick up a pair of Air Jordan 1 mid color shifts, and it was really sort of an impromptu thing. I was in a sneaker store earlier today. I saw them. I didn't realize these sneakers had dropped yet because I think usually Air Jordan 1 mids don't have a specific release date and instead kind of release randomly throughout stores around the same time. So if you guys are trying to grab a pair of the Air Jordan 1 mid color shifts, they should be releasing around now. Like I said, there's no specific release date, but the retail price for this shoe is $130. But if you guys don't want to wait around and try and find a pair in stores, I've made sure to leave a link to GOAT in the description below if you guys want to grab one or just check the resale prices. So this was a shoe that I talked about in Weekly Heat a couple months back, and it was a sneaker that I think drew a lot more attention when it was first leaked, and now that it's actually coming out, I don't know if the hype is still as high as it used to be. I mean, let's be honest, Air Jordan 1s are as popular as they've ever been, and even Air Jordan 1 mids are reselling, but a sneaker like this kind of feels more gimmicky than I think people would like. So up until I grabbed this sneaker today, I thought that the Air Jordan 1 color shift was a heat color changing sneaker, like it would change color based on the temperature of the room that it was in. But it turns out that's not actually the case, even though that's what's been reported over the last couple months. Instead, what this is just sort of an iridescent plastic finish on the heel of the shoe. And I know heat color changing would have been cool. I mean, we've done it with our Apothecary socks and it was sick, but I kind of like this way because it means that if you live in a cold climate or a hot climate like Las Vegas, you're not going to be stuck with the same color scheme. But why don't we dive into this pair of Air Jordan 1 mids, find out what make up the sneaker and whether this color shift is cool enough to spend your money on. So starting off around the toe of the sneaker, you've got this black mudguard that comes in pretty plasticky feeling leather. I mean, it's an Air Jordan 1 mid. They don't retail for as much as an Air Jordan 1 high, and subsequently, the materials that they use are not as nice as Air Jordan 1 highs, but I've got to be honest, it's not terrible leather. In the center of the toe, you've got this white leather that of course is perforated, and again, not great leather. It's pretty plasticky, but it's pretty much par for the course. As you move up on the shoe, you've got these white flat laces, and I do not believe they gave me an extra set of laces in the box, so you can't change the color unless you really want to go out and buy another set of laces. I wouldn't have been mad with this shoe having black laces instead of white laces. I think that might have been a slightly better look, but it is what it is. And again, if you really want to change the laces, you can. Just grab a new set of laces on Amazon and you're good to go. Underneath the laces, you've got this white nylon tongue, which is pretty standard for a pair of Air Jordan 1 mids, and at the top of the tongue, you've got your first iridescent or color shifting hit with this Air Jordan tag. So obviously this shoe is an Air Jordan 1 mid, and because of that, it doesn't have the cool Nike Air tag that we all love on Air Jordan 1 highs. Instead, you've got the Jumpman and the Air text underneath, and of course you've got the plasticky iridescent material, which actually I didn't even notice until Osman pointed it out, but they gave it this really cool sort of tumbled leather texture, which I don't think that it's actually leather. I think it's a plastic panel on top of like a, I don't know, a piece of fabric, but it does look cool and it makes it look like it's leather even though it's kind of just a fake out. Moving inside the sneaker, you've got this black mesh sock liner, which is pretty soft and feels good on foot. Rounding off the inside of the sneaker, you've got a black insole with the white Jumpman printed on the heel. As far as sizing and fit, I'm sure you know by this point, but Air Jordan 1 mids fit pretty much just like every other pair of Air Jordan 1s. Would you say that's the case, Osman? Yeah, okay, yeah, they fit just like every other pair of Air Jordan 1s. For me, that's true to size, but for you, it might be something different. So, if you have the chance to try on a pair of Air Jordan 1 mids or Air Jordan 1 highs or whatever Air Jordan 1 you want to try on first, before you buy this pair, especially if you're paying resale for this pair, I definitely suggest doing that to make sure that you're grabbing the right size for you. Continuing back in the shoe, you've got more of this black leather on the eye stays of the sneaker, and of course, you've also got this white leather panel in the midfoot. In the center of the midfoot, you've got this black leather Nike swoosh, which I'm glad that they went with the black leather. I wouldn't have been surprised if they had gone for that sort of iridescent material on the swoosh, and I feel like that would have kind of ruined the look. It would have cheapened the look in my opinion. The fact that this shoe is kind of like a black toe in the front and then you've got the color change in the back really makes this look like a more retro pair of Air Jordan 1s or a more classic colorway of Air Jordan 1s rather than some sort of weird new school colorway like they've been doing now. And I think with this sort of color changing material, you need to have a more classic look in the front of the shoe so the back of the shoe doesn't look too stupid. Let's be real, if they did it wrong, it would have looked like a stupid shoe. Then moving back in the shoe, you get to the part of the sneaker that we've been talking about throughout this entire video, and that's the color changing material. So this material can be found on the heel of the sneaker and also on this wing portion of the sneaker right here. And like I mentioned, it does have this sort of leather texture. It's like a tumbled leather texture, although it's not leather at all, it's plastic. And I think the closest thing that I can compare this material to are those like pictures that you got as a kid that kind of had that rough sort of plastic texture where you turned them one way, you saw one picture, turn them the other way. What's that called? Do you know the name of that? Like the...
Yeah, about now.
Like you get those like Michael Jordan cards and like your...
Or like a reflect.
It's like you color shift. You know what I'm talking about. But it's kind of like that. So it has this sort of ridge texture to it that you can't really feel unless you kind of rub your fingernail against it. It actually isn't as loud as I thought it would be, but it's there. I was expecting it to go zoop, zoop, zoop. Yeah. So as far as the color changing effect of the material goes, it really depends on how you're looking at the sneaker and what direction you're looking at the sneaker from. So for me, looking at the sneaker from this angle, it looks like the bottom part of the sneaker is sort of a yellowish orange and the top part fades from a blue to a green. And obviously it changes depending on the direction that you look at the shoe. And I think that's sort of an iridescent kind of look. And what's interesting is that the left shoe actually has a completely different sort of pattern or color changing effect to the right shoe. In fact, on this left shoe, you've got primarily greens and blues and a little bit of orange. And on the right shoe, you've got much more pinks and greens. It's an interesting effect, but it's not as exciting in person as I was hoping that it would be. When I first saw images of this shoe online, like the contrast between the colors were nuts. And I think that's because whoever took the picture just upped the contrast of the picture. So instead of the heel being like this crazy rainbow color thing, it's more of like a muddy sort of like shiny gray look, which isn't bad, but it's not as exciting as I was hoping. To be fair though, the more that I look at it, the more that I like that it's not as out there as it could be. I feel like it's a much more wearable shoe because of that. Of course, on the lateral side of the shoe, you've got that pressed wings logo in black. Continuing on just above that, around the top of the ankle, you've got this white ankle leather, which is usually black in most other pairs of Air Jordan 1s. But for some reason on this pair, I don't really mind it being white, especially since you don't really notice it because there's so much color changing going on. Moving around to the heel of the sneaker, you've got more of that color changing material. And of course, because you've got this sort of like third piece of material right there in the center, you got three different, I guess, color changing parts that are all sort of different. So it really separates the panels from each other, which I think is kind of cool. Moving down on the shoe, you've got this bright white midsole, and rounding off the entire look, you've got a black rubber outsole. Overall, honestly, I'm kind of disappointed by the color changing Air Jordan 1 mids. And the reason for that is not because of the shoe itself, it's because my expectations were a little bit too high. It's actually a really cool effect, and I feel like they did a really good job of doing it as cleanly as possible on this sneaker. Like, it could have been mad cordy, mad quick, but they did a good job of like keeping it simple, clean, and just a nice sort of effect that doesn't take away from the entire look of the shoe. Now, I've got to be real, I feel like the fact that this shoe is an Air Jordan 1 mid and not a high makes people not as excited about this sneaker. I mean, honestly, even me too, I'm not the biggest fan of mids, but I still think it's a great looking sneaker. I know if they had done this on a high, it would have gone crazy, it would have sold out instantly, but because it's mid, there's a lot more opportunity to grab it. And if you really like this shoe, you shouldn't have too hard of a time finding it. Like, I just walked into a store on the Strip and they just had it, like in every size. But I would love to know your thoughts on the Air Jordan 1 mid color shift and whether it's a sneaker that you would like to pick up, so make sure to let me know in the comment section down below. Also, if you guys would like to grab a pair of these and you don't want to search around all the different stores that might have it, I've left a link to GOAT in the description below. And as always, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't yet, and I'll see you all in the next one. Should I show them the view? Okay, hold on. Here we go. You guys ready for this? Look at that, check that out. That's wild.